He made me sign a prenup, told me he didn't believe in shared finances. I trusted him until I found a safe hidden in our closet. When I opened it, my heart pounded. Stacks of cash, jewelry, and a folder labeled Future Plans. Inside were property deeds, all in his name. When I confronted him, he smirked. "It's just business." I smiled back, "So is my lawyer." Then I walked away, knowing he had just lost everything he tried to keep from me. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post here. I used to read stories like this and think, that sucks, but I'd see the signs. I didn't. Not right away. I met Brad at a networking event in downtown Denver. It was one of those rooftop cocktail things with too many people trying to sound important. I was working in marketing, doing pretty well for myself, not rich but stable. He was older, 39. Owned a tech consulting firm. Wore a tailored blazer, expensive watch, clean shoes. Everything about him said he had his life together. We started talking, and it was like this weird mix of comfort and chemistry. He was confident without being pushy. Smart without sounding like he was showing off. Within weeks, we were dating regularly. He planned things. Booked nice restaurants. Knew good wine. Made me laugh. It felt easy. 6 months in, he asked me to move in. 10 months in, he proposed. He gave me this speech about how he'd been through a messy breakup before and how he just wanted to be smart going forward. That's when he brought up the prenup. I didn't love the idea, but he said all the right things. "It's not about not trusting you. It's just about protecting what I built before we met. We'll still build a life together. This is just legal stuff. Everything we build from here on out, that's ours." He promised shared decisions. Fair expenses. Said it was just about prior assets. I hesitated. He offered to pay for me to have a lawyer look it over. I never hired one. I didn't want to seem difficult. I signed it. Our wedding was small, beautiful. Up in Estes Park. The view was ridiculous. Mountains, trees, that crisp fall air. He cried during his vows. I believed every word. We bought a house just outside Denver. I kept working full-time. He ran his business, traveled sometimes. Life felt normal. For the first 2 years, I didn't question much. He paid the mortgage. I paid utilities, groceries, smaller stuff. He said he didn't believe in shared accounts, said it keeps things clean. I didn't push. Little things started to feel off. He'd go on business trips with almost no notice. He stopped talking about work in detail. He'd buy things, nice things, without mentioning it. A $7,000 espresso machine. A second car. When I asked about it, he brushed it off. It was a deal. I've got it covered. One night he came home late from a meeting, and I swear I could smell perfume on his jacket. I didn't say anything. I just noted it. That's when I started quietly watching more closely. I noticed that every time we went on vacation, he paid in cash. Like, actual stacks of bills. Even hotels. I asked once, why cash? Easier to write off. It's just how I do it. One Saturday, I found a receipt from a jewelry store in his jacket pocket. I hadn't gotten anything. I held it up and asked, "What's this?" "Client gift," he said, without flinching. "She just had a baby." It was a thing. I wanted to believe him. I didn't want to be that wife. I let it go. But then came the Porsche. A brand new, fully loaded Porsche 911. Just showed up in the driveway one day. I asked him how he got it. "Lease," he said. "Don't worry, it's in my name. You're not tied to it." That was a lie. But I didn't know that yet. At this point, I felt like something was wrong but couldn't prove it. So I started looking through things. Not aggressively. Just paying more attention. One day, he left for a conference in Seattle. Claimed it was a 4-day tech retreat. I knew he'd be gone long enough that I could take my time. I started in the office. Found nothing. Then the closet in the guest room. Looked normal until I realized the back wall was just slightly off. Like it had a panel that didn't match the others. I tapped it. Hollow. I pried it open with a butter knife. There was a safe. Digital keypad. Heavy duty. Hidden behind his old snowboarding gear. I stood there staring at it for a solid 5 minutes. I guessed a few codes. Nothing worked. Then I remembered his dog's birthday. His old Labrador that passed away before we met. I'd seen the photo on his desk once. Tried the birth date. Click. The door opened slowly. Inside was a new reality. Cash. Bundles of it. Hundreds. 50s. Labeled. Organized. I counted maybe $150,000 just in what I could see. Then came the jewelry. Gold. Diamond. None of it mine. Some still had price tags on them. Then I saw a folder. Black. Labeled. Future Plans. My heart was in my throat. Inside were property deeds. 3 condos, 2 in Miami, 1 in Austin. Another cabin in Aspen. All in his name. A list of crypto wallets with access keys. Travel documents. One was a flight itinerary for 2 to Mexico under a name I didn't recognize. Then, A marriage license application for Brad and a woman named Clara. I sat down on the floor, folder in my lap, and just stared. Everything I thought we were building? It was all fake. He'd been preparing for a life without me. A new life. With someone else. The separate finances weren't about being practical, they were about keeping me blind. I took photos of everything. Every document, every page, every receipt. Sent them to a burner email I set up on the spot. I put everything back exactly as I found it. Closed the panel. Cleaned up. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat. Just laid in bed, wondering how long he'd been planning this. Wondering who else knew. Wondering how I had been so damn trusting. He got home 2 days later. Acted like everything was fine. Kissed my cheek. Said, "You look tired." I told him I was just stressed from work. I didn't say anything right away, but I had already called a lawyer. A really good one. She had me send everything. She said the prenup might not hold if he didn't disclose all assets. She said, "We'll take our time. Let him keep thinking you don't know." And so I did. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I acted normal. But inside, I was making a list. A very detailed list of everything he thought he got away with. So, now I knew. I knew he had money he never told me about. I knew he had properties in 3 cities I'd never even visited with him. I knew he had another woman. Clara. Whoever the hell that was. And worst of all, I knew he had plans. Without me. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. I wanted him to feel safe. Just like he made me feel while he built his little secret empire behind my back. I played along. I still made dinner. Still asked about his day. I even let him touch me. That part made me sick, but I was playing the long game now. My lawyer told me to gather everything. And every day I acted normal, Brad got more careless. He started taking calls in the house again. I'd accidentally walk into the room while he was mid-conversation and watch him scramble to mute or hang up. He said it was work stuff. Client issues. I smiled and nodded. He left his laptop open once. Just once. And that was all I needed. I wasn't trying to hack him. I didn't need to. His email was already open. I saw it right there, an email from Clara h@outlook.com with the subject line, "I miss you. You okay with May 15th? I clicked it. It was a full thread. She had no idea he was married. They were planning a wedding. A wedding. Small. In Mexico. They were talking about buying a house together in Tulum. She called him B and said she was nervous but excited. Said she was glad he got the cash ready to make a clean start. He replied with, "Soon, baby." Just a few loose ends. I wanted to throw his laptop at the wall. Instead, I screenshotted every email. Sent them to my burner email. Then I went into his hidden safe again, yes, I knew the code, and took the original folder labeled Future Plans. Replaced it with a near-identical one I made at a FedEx office with fake property documents. My lawyer helped me design them. Not one of them was real. I left the fake folder in the safe. Let him plan his dream life off a pile of lies for a while. Here's where it gets messy. About a week later, he gets a call during dinner and excuses himself. Says it's urgent. Steps outside. I wait. Listen through the slightly cracked window. He's arguing. Whispering harshly. "No, listen. Don't show up here. I told you. I need more time. Do not come to the house. Jesus, Clara, stop acting like a child." He came back inside smiling like nothing happened. I said nothing. Just offered more mashed potatoes. 2 days later, Clara showed up. Yes, she showed up. It was a Thursday. I was working from home. He was out meeting a client. I heard a knock. I opened the door, and there she was. Young, blonde, pretty, no ring, holding a small bag, looking nervous. She smiled at me and said, "Hi. Is Brad here?" I didn't say anything at first. Just stared at her. Then I stepped aside and said, "Come in." She looked confused but walked in. I made us tea. Sat down across from her at the dining table like it was any other day. She thought I was the housekeeper at first. I let her keep thinking that while she talked. She told me they'd met almost 3 years ago at some startup tech conference. That she thought he was divorced. That he promised they'd start fresh once he closed some business stuff and ended things cleanly. Then she said the thing that made everything click. He said he was finalizing the sale of his company and would get a payout by May. Then we'd be good to go. Said it's all about timing. A sale. I never knew he was selling his company. I hadn't even met any of his partners. Every time I asked about his business, he'd get vague. Then she pulled out her phone. Showed me photos. Of them. On a boat in Miami. At a restaurant in Aspen. In front of a cabin, the same one in the deed I'd seen. She even had a video of him kissing her forehead and saying, "Next time, it'll be our place forever." I nodded slowly. She still didn't know who I was. Then I smiled, leaned forward, and said, "I'm his wife." She dropped her cup. Literally dropped it. You ever see someone realize they've been lied to so completely that their entire face changes? That was Clara. She went pale, then flushed red, then covered her face with both hands and just said, "Oh my God." I told her I believed her, that I didn't blame her, that she was lied to just like I was. I showed her my photos, the safe, the fake folder I made, the emails. She sat there in complete silence, shaking. Then she said something I didn't expect. He gave me $10,000 to keep quiet until June. I stared at her. What do you mean? She pulled out her bag, took out an envelope. Inside, stacks of bills, with a sticky note, just in case. "No drama, please." He was paying her to disappear. We sat there for almost an hour, comparing timelines, receipts, stories. He'd been living 2 lives for almost 3 years. 2 relationships. 2 entire realities. Mine was boring stability. Hers was adventure and promises. He'd been using my money to fund parts of it too. Turns out, our joint expenses weren't as balanced as I thought. She apologized, over and over. I wasn't angry at her. I was furious at him. And now? Now I had 2 women ready to ruin him. And I hadn't even told him I knew. So, Clara and I were sitting at the table with our cups of tea gone cold, pictures spread out in front of us like we were piecing together a murder board. We were both shaking, but for different reasons. Her world had just flipped upside down. Mine had been crumbling for months. Then she asked me, "So, what are you going to do?" I told her I already had a lawyer, that I was building a case, that I wasn't going to let him walk away from this like it was some clever business deal. And I asked her, "Are you willing to help me?" She didn't hesitate. But then she hesitated. "There's something else," she said. "I wasn't going to tell you. But now that I know who you are, I think you need to know." She reached into her purse again and pulled out a small envelope. Handed it to me. It was a paternity test kit. She whispered, "I'm pregnant." I stared at her. Not because I didn't believe her, but because the weight of those words felt like someone dropped a cinder block on my chest. "I haven't told him yet," she said. "I was going to wait until Mexico." Let me pause right here. The man had been building a secret life. Hiding money. Buying property. Creating a future with another woman behind my back. And now he had a baby on the way. I couldn't breathe. But I didn't let it show. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "He's going to find out." Just not the way he planned. After she left, I called my lawyer. Told her everything. She asked me to bring Clara in. Said her testimony could change everything. Prenups don't hold up well when there's fraud. Especially when it crosses into criminal territory. Oh, and it did. That Porsche? The one he swore wasn't in my name? I pulled the registration. It was. Forged signature. Different handwriting. Different pen. We brought it to a forensic document examiner. Yes, that's a real thing, and had it verified. He'd taken out the lease under my name. Used my credit. My ID. Even faked a utility bill to make it look like I signed for it. Which is identity theft. Which is felony-level fraud. And then, as if the universe decided it wasn't done spitting on me, I got a letter in the mail. Addressed to Bradley and Amanda Carter. That's not my name. My name is not Amanda. I opened it. Inside was a "Congratulations" letter from a real estate developer in Austin. Confirming the final closing date for a luxury apartment at the Grove, a new upscale complex near downtown. Bradley Carter. Amanda Carter. That was his other woman. I sat there in my kitchen, holding that envelope like it was on fire. So I did what I always do now. Took photos. Sent them to my lawyer. Then I opened a new burner email address. Found Amanda on social media, because yes, he's dumb enough to be in tagged photos, and messaged her. She didn't answer for 3 days. Then I got a reply. "Hi, who are you and how do you know Brad?" We ended up on the phone for 2 hours. I told her everything. She cried. She wasn't engaged. She thought they were exclusive. Thought he was still working on his divorce and just needed space. He even told her his wife, me, had cheated and cleaned him out. He told her I stole from him. That's why he needed to keep finances separate in the future. Amanda was furious. Not just at him, but at herself. She had just moved her entire life to Texas for him. And just like Clara, she had no clue he was married. And guess what? He'd promised her that same damn cabin in Aspen. Said it was going to be their quiet escape when the world gets too loud. So let's recap. He was married to me. Engaged to Clara. Playing house with Amanda. Using money from secret accounts to fund all 3 lives. Falsely put a car in my name. Had at least 3 properties under shell LLCs. And now, possibly a baby on the way. I wasn't just dealing with a cheater. I was dealing with a pathological liar who built a house of cards and forgot I could blow, too. So I did what anyone in my position would do. I invited Clara and Amanda over. At the same time. They didn't know about each other yet. I told them to come over for coffee. That I had something to show them both. When they sat down across from each other, there was a full minute of silence before Clara whispered, "Oh, my God." Amanda said, "You too." Clara nodded. Then they both looked at me. And I smiled. For real this time. That's when I pulled out the folder. Not the fake one. Not the one from the safe. The real one. The one with everything. His plan. His lies. His secrets. His stolen money. All of it. I laid it out like a deck of cards. Clara reached for the property deeds. Amanda scanned the crypto account printouts. I watched their faces change. First confusion. Then disbelief. Then something else. Rage. We made a pact that night. No drama. No fighting each other. No revenge that would get us in trouble. Only facts. Only exposure. Only truth. We were going to ruin his story, piece by piece. Together. He had no idea what was coming. And the best part? He still thinks I don't know. After I brought Clara and Amanda together, after we laid out everything, his double lives, stolen identity, the fake lease, the undeclared assets, we knew we had to do something more than just react. We had to take control of the story before he twisted it one last time. So we planned it. Nothing crazy. No revenge fantasy stuff. No shouting in a restaurant or poisoning his toothpaste. We didn't want drama. We wanted the truth. Brad had been planning this big client dinner for weeks. Said it was a huge opportunity with a potential investor for his company, someone from the East Coast flying in. Said we should all dress up. Be polished. This time, he even asked me to come with him. It'll be good for them to see the stable family image, he said with a grin. The words made me want to throw up, but I smiled. Of course, babe. Happy to help. What he didn't know was, I invited 2 guests of my own. Clara and Amanda were coming too. Not as my plus ones, but as his truths. The dinner was at one of those overpriced rooftop restaurants in downtown Denver, white tablecloths, violin in the corner, skyline glowing behind floor-to-ceiling windows. He wore his favorite navy suit. I wore black, hair slicked back, red lipstick, classic, severe. The kind of look that makes people sit up. He introduced me to the investor, who was, ironically, just some guy named Trevor who owned a string of gyms in Phoenix. Didn't matter. We all sat down. He ordered wine. Then, right after appetizers were served, I excused myself to the bathroom. Clara and Amanda walked in 5 minutes later. Together. Dressed to kill. Brad looked up. His smile froze on his face. I came back and sat down without saying a word. Brad, I said, as calm as ever. You remember Clara. And Amanda. The table went dead silent. Trevor blinked. Wait. What's going on? Amanda sat down across from Brad and placed a folder on the table. The same folder. The one with everything. Clara leaned forward and said, "You lied to all of us. But tonight, we're telling the truth." Brad turned to me, voice low. "What the hell is this?" "It's your reckoning," I said. "Smile for your investor." We didn't shout. We didn't make a scene. We laid out facts. We passed Trevor copies of the fake documents. The properties. The proof of financial fraud. The forged signature on the Porsche lease. We showed him the email screenshots. The fake marriage license. The proof that Brad had lied on his business filings. Brad's face lost all color. He tried to laugh. "You think this is smart? You're ruining my career. Do you have any idea?" Amanda cut him off. "No. You did that. You chose this." He looked at me. "For sympathy? For help? You told me you loved me," I said. "But I think what you really loved was control." Trevor stood up. Quietly said, "You should get a lawyer, man. And a new phone number." Then he walked out. That was the moment Brad snapped. He stood up, knocking over his wine glass, and hissed at me. "You think you're going to win? This is business. You can't touch what's mine." I stood up too. Calm. Still. "I already did. Everything you hid? Every account, every asset, every lie? It's all in discovery. And you signed the lease in my name. You stole from me. That prenup? It's dead. Just like your career." Brad stormed out. Clara cried. Amanda shook. I sat there as the waiter cleared away the untouched entrees. No one said anything for a while. We walked out of that place like we'd survived a war. And in a way, we had. Brad tried to call the next day. Once, then never again. My lawyer filed for divorce. Cited fraud, financial abuse, and identity theft. We filed criminal charges on the forged lease. His company started investigating. His partners forced him out. Clara and Amanda gave formal statements. Turns out, Amanda knew someone in the press. His story? It went public. Not viral, but it made the rounds in business circles. Denver tech exec accused of financial misconduct and personal deception. Clara had her baby. I went to the hospital to see her. It was a girl. She named her Hope. Brad isn't listed on the birth certificate. Amanda moved back to Texas. We still text sometimes. I moved out of the house and into a little rental near Boulder. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. Quiet. Honest. Clean. I walk my dog every morning. I drink coffee with real milk. I sleep without wondering where he is. I've had to rebuild my credit. That took months. I had to go through every part of my life and separate it from him. Bank accounts, emails, insurance, even our Netflix password. He had touched everything. But not anymore. The worst part wasn't the money. Or even the cheating. It was realizing that I loved someone who saw me as a backup plan. A placeholder. A business decision. He didn't just betray me, he tried to erase me while smiling to my face. I'll never understand how someone becomes that cold. That calculated. But I don't need to understand anymore. I'm not broken. I'm not bitter. I'm awake. People think strength is staying in hard situations. That's not always true. Sometimes real strength is walking away from the lies and letting them burn behind you. And sometimes, it's standing in the fire long enough to see who else comes out with you. Clara and Amanda did. And so did I.